I woke from brain surgery to find my wife had stolen my $10 million business, so I used the Asset Protection Trust. My mom owned to evict her from our house and leave her with nothing. My world was built on two pillars: my family and my business. The business, Havenworth Properties, was a testament to a decade of backbreaking work. I'd started with a single dilapidated bungalow, restoring it with my own hands, and through a combination of sweat, intuition, and relentless drive, built it into a respected boutique development firm. My name, Adrian Vale, was synonymous with quality. The second pillar was my family. My mother, Eleanor, a widow who had sacrificed everything to give me a start, and my younger sister, Chloe, my fiercest cheerleader and the company's sharp-eyed office manager. Our home, a spacious, light-filled modern estate, was more than a house. It was the physical embodiment of our triumph over struggle, a sanctuary we had built together. Then there was Lillian. She came into my life like a summer breeze, all effortless charm and captivating intelligence. A freelance graphic designer, she seemed to appreciate my driven nature, often telling me I needed to slow down and enjoy the fruits of my labor. I mistook her calculated calm for genuine peace. We married after a 2-year whirlwind romance. My mother, ever perceptive, had her reservations. "She loves what you represent, Adrian," she'd said once carefully. "Just be sure she loves the man inside." I dismissed it as maternal protectiveness. I was a man who negotiated multi-million-dollar contracts. I believed I could judge character. The first cracks appeared subtly. After we married, Lillian began suggesting ways to streamline things. "It's so messy having your family so involved in the business," she'd murmur over dinner. "And this house, it's so much them. Don't you want something that's just us?" She proposed we draw up new wills to protect each other. I agreed, seeing it as a practical adult step. I never imagined it was the first move in a long game. The diagnosis was the earthquake that shattered my reality. A glioblastoma, a vicious and aggressive brain tumor. The prognosis was a sledgehammer blow. With surgery, a 10% survival rate. The world narrowed to hospital corridors, the smell of antiseptic, and the terrifying clinical voices of neurosurgeons. In my weakened, fear-soaked state, Lillian was my rock. She handled the appointments, spoke to the doctors, and presented a brave face to the world. I was utterly dependent. The betrayal was cloaked in the guise of concern. The night before the life-or-death craniotomy, Lillian sat by my hospital bed, her hands clutching mine, her eyes brimming with manufactured tears. "Adrian, my love," she whispered, her voice trembling. "The doctors, they need someone to make decisions if things go wrong during the surgery. Financial decisions, medical decisions. What if there are complications? I can't bear the thought of your mother and sister having to fight with me while we're all grieving. It would tear us apart. For the sake of family harmony, for my peace of mind, please, sign this power of attorney. It just gives me the temporary authority to keep things running smoothly until you're back on your feet. It's for everyone's good." She presented a dense legal document. My vision was blurred by medication and fear. The words durable, general, and full power swam on the page. I saw only my wife's pleading face, the person I trusted most in my most vulnerable moment. I thought I was securing peace for my family. I was, in fact, signing a weapon into her hands. With a hand that could barely hold the pen, I scrawled my signature, handing over the keys to my entire life right before I went under the knife for a 9-hour procedure where I had a 90% chance of dying. The surgery was a miracle. The lead surgeon emerged, exhausted but smiling, to tell my mother and sister, "He's out of danger. We got it all. The operation was a success." They wept with relief, their joy pure and unadulterated. They tried to call Lillian to share the miraculous news, but her phone went straight to voicemail. They assumed she was asleep, emotionally drained, or perhaps praying in the hospital chapel. Their assumption was a testament to their own good hearts. They could not conceive of the truth. The truth was that while I was fighting for my life in the ICU, Lillian was already executing her plan. The power of attorney was not a shield for the family. It was a sword for her, With me legally incapacitated and presumed by her to be on death's door, she moved with cold, breathtaking speed. She wasn't absent due to grief. She was busy in my office, with my bankers, with my lawyers. The first my family knew of it was when they arrived at my home, our home, 2 days after my surgery to fetch some of my personal items. The locks were changed. A new stern-faced security guard stood at the door. He handed my stunned mother a formal letter from a lawyer. It stated that as my legal attorney, in fact, Lillian Vale had exclusive rights to the property and, citing privacy and stress during this difficult time, was revoking all access for Eleanor and Chloe Vale. They were barred from the house they had helped me build. Then, Chloe went to the Havenworth Properties office. She found her access keycard deactivated. Her personal effects were in a box by the reception desk. An email from Lillian, copied to the entire staff, informed them that Chloe was on an indefinite, unpaid leave of absence, and that all company authority now rested solely with Lillian. When Chloe tried to access the company accounts, she found the passwords had been changed. Lillian was systematically seizing control, cutting out the heart of my family from my life and legacy while I lay unconscious. My mother, a lioness in her own right, tried to reason with her. She called, she pleaded. She even went to the hospital hoping to confront Lillian, but she was always unavailable. The few times she managed to get her on the phone, Lillian's tone was ice. "This is what Adrian wanted," she would say flatly. "He trusted me to handle things. You need to respect his wishes and give us space." The shift had occurred, but not in me, in her. The mask of the caring wife was gone, replaced by the cold countenance of a corporate raider, and my life was the company she was liquidating. My recovery in the hospital took 3 months. It was a long, grueling process of rehabilitation, learning to walk again, to speak clearly, to reclaim my cognitive functions. My mother and sister were my constant companions, my anchors in a sea of confusion and physical pain. They never once mentioned Lillian's betrayal. They told me she was handling the business, that she was under a lot of stress. They protected me with a lie, knowing that the truth could jeopardize my fragile recovery. They endured the humiliation and the fury silently, absorbing the poison so it wouldn't reach me. They watched over my body while Lillian plundered my empire, believing I would never be able to stop her. The awakening was gradual. The first clue was the absence. In 3 months, Lillian visited me a handful of times, and her visits were brief, distant, and focused on practicalities. "Don't worry about the business, darling," she'd say, patting my hand. "Everything is under control." There was no warmth, no shared relief at my survival. It felt transactional. The full, brutal truth was revealed the day I was discharged. I was weak but clear-headed, eager to return to my sanctuary, to my life. My mother drove me home. When we pulled into the driveway, I felt a surge of happiness. But as I walked to the front door, I fumbled for my keys. "Adrian," my mother said softly, her hand on my arm, "we need to talk before we go inside." It was in her car, parked in my own driveway, that the dam broke. Chloe joined us, and through tears our strategy was threefold. First, I went to see Arthur Brigham, the seasoned, ruthless litigator who had helped me structure the companies. He reviewed the documents, listened to the story, and his eyes hardened. "This is one of the most egregious cases of fiduciary bad faith I've ever seen," he said. "We will eviscerate her." Second, we conducted a forensic audit. While Lillian thought she was in control, we quietly worked with the company's external accountant. We discovered she had attempted to transfer large sums into a newly created personal account, but had been blocked by the corporate structure she didn't understand. She had, however, maxed out my personal credit lines and had begun liquidating my personal investment portfolio. We had a perfect paper trail of her attempts at asset stripping. Third, we planned the confrontation. We didn't tell her I was being discharged. We allowed her to continue operating in her bubble of perceived control, gathering more rope with which to hang herself. The confrontation took place in my office, a week after my discharge. I had regained some of my strength. I wore a suit for the first time in months. I sat behind my large oak desk, my mother and sister flanking me, with Arthur Brigham standing by the window. We had Lillian summoned to the office for an urgent financial meeting. She walked in, dressed in a new expensive business suit, a tablet in her hand. She was already speaking. "I've been reviewing the Q3 projections, and I think we need to—" She stopped dead. Her eyes locked on me. The color drained from her face. The tablet slipped from her fingers and clattered on the floor. For a full 10 seconds, she was utterly speechless, her mouth opening and closing like a fish out of water. "Adrian," she finally gasped. You're alive?" I finished for her, my voice calm and level. And in full possession of my faculties. "Please have a seat, Lillian." She collapsed into the chair, her composure shattered. This is a wonderful surprise. Why didn't anyone tell me?" "We thought we'd surprise you," Chloe said, her voice dripping with icy sweetness. "Since you love surprises so much, like changing the locks on our house." The reckoning began. Arthur Brigham stepped forward and laid a single sheet of paper on the desk in front of her. It was a list of bullet points, written in the stark, unemotional language of the law. "Mrs. Vale," Arthur began, his voice like grinding stones, "as of this moment, your power of attorney is revoked. You are hereby removed from any and all positions of authority within Havenworth Properties. You are to immediately surrender all company property, including keys, access cards, and financial records." Lillian stared, bewildered. "You can't do that." Your legal authority is meaningless against the actual ownership structure," I interrupted, sliding the trust and LLC documents across the desk. "You see, you never owned anything, Lillian. You were trying to sell a house that wasn't mine and run a business I don't own. The house belongs to my mother's trust. The business is owned by my mother's holding company. Your POA was a key to an empty vault. The evidence cascade was devastating." Arthur detailed her attempts to liquidate my personal assets, presenting the bank statements. He described her illegal lockout of my family from their own property. He outlined the multiple counts of breach of fiduciary duty, fraud, and emotional distress we were prepared to level against her in a civil suit that would leave her financially ruined. Lillian's arrogance crumbled into sheer, undiluted panic. The reality of her situation crashed down on her. She had overplayed her hand catastrophically. She had bet on my death and lost, and in doing so had exposed her true nature for everyone to see. "Adrian, please," she begged, her voice breaking into sobs. "I was scared. I was out of my mind with grief. I didn't know what I was doing. It was a mistake. Please forgive me. We can work this out. We're still married." She looked at my mother and sister. "Eleanor, Chloe, I'm so sorry. Please talk to him." We said nothing. My mother looked at her with a gaze of pure, unyielding granite. Chloe simply stared, her arms crossed. I looked at the woman I had married, now a pathetic, weeping mess, and felt nothing. No anger, no pity, just a vast, empty silence. "I think you should leave," I said, my voice quiet but final. "Your personal effects from the house will be delivered to a location of your choosing. Do not contact me or my family again. All communication will go through Mr. Brigham. Now, get out of my office." The collapse was absolute. She stumbled out of the room, her sobs echoing down the hall. The divorce proceedings were a formality. With the evidence we had, her lawyer advised her to sign the papers, waiving all claims, if she wanted to avoid a devastating public lawsuit. We agreed on the condition of a full, legally binding confession of her actions, to be held in escrow should she ever attempt to defame us. The peace that settled over our home in the following months was profound. It was a peace earned not through luck, but through foresight and ruthless defense. The sanctuary had been violated, but we had cleansed it, and its walls felt stronger than ever. The experience didn't break us. It reforged our family bond in titanium. I made a full physical recovery. The scar on my head a permanent reminder of the battle I had survived, both in the operating room and in my own home. Havenworth Properties thrived. My story, carefully shared within my close business network, became a legend of a different sort. A cautionary tale about due diligence and a testament to smart legal planning. My reputation was enhanced, seen as someone who was not only a savvy businessman, but also a man of unshakable principle. Lillian's reputation, however, was annihilated. The story of her attempted takeover, of her kicking my mother out of her own home while I fought for my life, spread like wildfire through our social and professional circles. She became a pariah, a symbol of calculated greed and breathtaking betrayal. Her apologies, once we went public with the broad strokes of the story, were seen for what they were: the desperate pleas of a caught criminal, not the genuine remorse of a repentant wife. She was forced to move to another city, her name permanently tarnished. The greatest victory, however, was not her downfall. It was the sight of my mother, tending to her garden in the home that was legally and spiritually hers, without a trace of the fear Lillian had tried to instill. It was the sound of my sister's laughter in the office, once again the capable heart of our operation. We had not just won back what was ours, we had reaffirmed the values that had built it in the first place: family, integrity, and the wisdom to plan for storms even on the sunniest of days. I learned that trust is a precious currency, not to be spent lightly. I learned that the most dangerous predators are not the ones who attack you in the street, but the ones who share your bed, who study your weaknesses, and who strike when you are at your most vulnerable. But I also learned that preemptive wisdom is the ultimate shield, that building your life on a foundation of legal and structural integrity isn't just good business. It's a fortress that can withstand even the most intimate of betrayals. If you believe in protecting what you've built, not just from strangers but from those closest to you, then let this story be your guide. Secure your assets, trust your instincts, and remember that the most important contracts are often the ones you sign long before you ever see the storm coming. Your legacy and your family's peace are worth that foresight.